Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you'd like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. And today I want to talk about some of the plants that died in the year 2024 and whether or not I would rebuy them or not touch them again with a 10-foot pole. There's definitely a chance that I'm missing some plants, but these are at least the plants that are firmly memorable. Like the plants that died that like I don't even have any recollection of. Like if there are any that exist in that category, you know, let's just say that like I'm probably not gonna get them again because like they weren't memorable enough for me to remember that they even died. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure this is a at least mostly comprehensive list, okay? All right, so first I'm gonna talk about the plants that I absolutely do intend to buy again someday. It doesn't necessarily mean that I will do it this year because we actually recently talked in my last video, if you want to watch that, about kind of my plant goals or at least planty plans this year in 2025. I'm not really going to be focused on buying or acquiring new plants if I can help it. My main focus is going to be on maintaining my current collection and curating my current collection. And that's not to say that I won't buy any new plants at all this year, but it's just not at all the focus. However, if I do buy any plants, they'll probably end up being these plants I'm about to talk about. Maybe, I don't know. So the first plant that I know for certain, like this is like the top plant that I think I absolutely would like to rebuy, and that is the Anthurium clarinervium. I adore this plant so much, and you know, it hung on for dear life for the longest time. Honestly, when this plant is like mature and has like a ton of leaves and the venation is super stark, oh my goodness, it is so stunning. I just am freaking in love with this plant, and I'm devastated that it didn't really work for me. But you know, it was my very first Anthurium ever in my collection, so it sort of suffered all of my beginner mistakes with it. I don't think I had it in the right potting medium. I didn't have it in the right type of pot. I didn't have the right lighting or humidity. Like I just had all of those mistakes with the plant early on. It also suffered a lot of neglect early on because I got that plant and I almost immediately got pregnant with my son, and I had some pretty debilitating morning sickness. So all of my plants all around got pretty neglected during that time. What happened was it just kept on rotting on me continuously. Like it was stable for maybe a year. But then no matter what I did, like it just rotted maybe at least 5 times, and I managed to save it each time, but there was one last time it just didn't work. I just couldn't save it. It like rotted to the core. Like it was completely gone, not salvageable at all. And I was really sad about that, but I was like, you know what? It's probably time to let go of this plant. The sad part is I think I paid $60 for that Anthurium clarinervium, and it kind of hurts. I mean, it was for like a small plant. I got it in Chicago, actually. I was so excited about that plant, but it just never panned out. It never grew to the proportions I was expecting it to grow. And there's a chance that I got like a bad batch of Anthurium clarinervium because I've seen some people say that it's super easy and some people say that it's been difficult for them and like has never worked. So I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews on it. In my experience, it was easy for a little while, but like never was really thriving. But then it just kind of decided to stop living. I think if I were to start over with it, actually my local garden center was selling them for like $16. I don't know if they still have them or not, but if they do, I absolutely want to march down there and get one because like that's super affordable for that plant. I already really miss my clarinervium, but I kind of want to wait until I have a better setup for my Anthurium, or I at least kind of solve my Anthurium problem right now. Because if you don't know, a lot of the Anthurium in my collection have not really been thriving recently, and I just need to get to the bottom of it. I haven't really spent time figuring that out. So I need to just sit down and figure it out. I need to see if they have a pest or if they just need to be repotted or moved. I don't really know, but we will figure it out eventually. It'll happen because I love Anthurium and I would love for them to be a bigger part of my collection because they're one of my favorite genera out there. But you know, sometimes plants just are unhappy and you gotta figure out what's going on, and that takes time and troubleshooting. The next plant that I would be interested in rebuying is the Synapsis lucens, and this is a really, really unique plant. But I will say, when I bought it on a whim in the middle of the night because I was awake nursing my son when he was still an infant, and I was on Etsy and I just got it spontaneously. Once I received it, I realized, oh no, this is like not like a regular synapsis. This is a very finicky synapsis. And so it was throwing temper tantrums all the time. It had to be in the perfect conditions. If I missed a watering, oh my gosh, it was so flopped over and so done with me. There's a chance that this died in 2023, but I can't remember. It either died towards the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. I don't know. But regardless, I never really talked about it, so I want to talk about it here, okay? It did die a while ago. It just like completely just croaked on me all of a sudden. But again, it was one of those plants where it was back and forth a lot, super finicky. It's a plant that requires very high humidity and a lot of consistency and care. So I don't know why I'm putting it on the rebuy list, if I'm being completely honest, but I think I did really like it. I think it was so beautiful. Actually, when I rewatched my old plant tours and I saw that plant again, I was like, oh, that was a really cool plant, and it's really unique. I haven't really seen other people owning Synapsis lucens, and I remember it being pretty affordable too, so I mean, why not buy it and try it again? But I would definitely do things differently this time around. I'd probably immediately put it into a terrarium because it loves that consistent moisture and humidity and warmth and all of that. So do I think I'm gonna get this plant this year specifically? I don't know. I don't know, but it is something that I'd be open to trying again for sure. The next plant that I would rebuy that died this year is my Hoya Pointer albumarginata, and this is a plant I want to get my hands on again as soon as possible. I was devastated that it died because this was one of my favorite Hoya that I owned, and I was very taken off guard by the fact that it died. This is actually a plant, it was a cutting that I got from a friend. She also lives in Ohio, so I happened to be around the area where she lives for our wedding, and so we met up and she gave me a bunch of plants, and then actually we met up again a few months ago, and I gave her a bunch of plants when we met up in this area, and you know, that was really fun and really sweet. Most of the plants that she gave me are still thriving to this day. I think that this is the only plant that she gave me that ended up dying, but it lasted for like a whole year. It only just randomly croaked a couple months ago, and I was so devastated, and I still frankly couldn't tell you what happened because it was actively growing. It was putting off new leaves, like it was doing great, but then all of a sudden the leaves started yellowing and I was like, what is going on? So I ended up putting it in the prop box, trying to kind of bring it back to life, revive it, because like that usually helps. Like that tends to be like my default. Oh no, like this plant is dying. Let's put it in the prop box in higher humidity and lots of light and maybe it'll do great. No, it didn't save it. It didn't rescue it. That it's like my triage unit, and yeah, it did not work. So unfortunately now I'm out of that plant. And it's not in my collection anymore, and I'm really sad because I was so looking forward to growing a full plant of that. I have a really big, massive, sprawling, gorgeous Hoya polyneura in my collection, and I just love that plant so much, and I really wanted to have the, you know, outer variegated version of my collection as well, and you know, they are quite expensive, so I don't know for sure if I'm gonna get it this year again, but that is a plant that I really desperately want to have in my collection again, and I'm still just sick that it died. And again, I don't know what happened. But maybe I don't know. I was really consistent with it too. So it's a little bit of a mystery. That's sometimes some plants just like die and you don't know what happened. And I try to not feel guilty about it because I did my best with that plant. And it really did take me off guard, but it's okay. It happens. That's just kind of part of the hobby. All right, and lastly, plants that I would rebuy. This is more of a general category, but I'm just gonna say ferns in general, because every single fern that I've ever owned has died on me, with the exception of my staghorn fern. And I say this because ferns just don't like me, and you know, they're a little bit tricky. They require a lot of consistency and maybe humidity, that sort of thing. I will say I have done very well with the Maryanticeae family, and that's another family of plants that tend to be really finicky and need a lot of humidity and consistent watering. So it puzzles me a little bit as to why I can't get ferns to work for me, because I feel like if I can get the Maryanticeae family to work for me, why can't I get ferns to work for me? And if you don't know, the Maryanticeae family consists of plants like Calatheas, Capertias, Maryanthus, Stramanthe, and Tenanthes. I think that's all of them. But anyway, yeah, like those tend to do very well in my collection. But ferns, no, they always die. within only a few months. So this year there were 2 different ferns that I got and tried. One was the rabbit's foot fern. I even put it in a self-watering pot too, I think. And I also got a Tasmanian tree fern that also very promptly perished. And it's really sad to me because I want to try ferns again. I will say, I don't think that I specifically would get those same ferns. Maybe the rabbit's foot fern. I think I would try the rabbit's foot fern again, but not the Tasmanian tree fern. So I guess that's sort of getting into plants I would not buy again. There's sort of a muddle between the two because I would try ferns in general, but not the Tasmanian tree fern because as cool as it was, it died within weeks. Like it started declining within weeks in my collection. So I'm like, why would I try that? Why would I do that to myself? But plants that I would try, like ferns I would try, rabbit's foot fern, I think I would repeat that one. I haven't gotten this plant before, but I would definitely want to try like the maidenhair fern. I think that's a gorgeous fern. So that might be the next fern that I try for 2025. I'll pick up a maidenhair fern and see if I can make it work. But yeah, that does bring us kind of naturally into the do not buy again. As I mentioned, the first one on that list is the Tasmanian tree fern specifically. I'll try other ferns, but that one, it was cool, but like there's just no chance it's gonna live in my collection. It was also like really big and kind of crazy, and I bought it so on a whim, and I'm just like, well, as cool as it was, I just don't think that that would really fit in the collection that I have curated for myself. But moving along, you guys will probably see this coming, but Philodendron Brantianum, a few weeks ago, I finally let that plant go. It has been holding on for dear life since I bought it, it feels like. And I tried kind of everything with this plant, and I know some people can make it work, and if you're that person, that's fantastic. But I did try a lot of things. I tried high humidity, I tried having it go up a moss pole, I tried it trailing, I tried it in many different light situations, and I never got it to grow in a way that was nice for me, and it kept on getting spider mites, and eventually I just gave up. As of a few weeks ago, officially, I gave up. I got rid of that plant. I was like, you know what? We're done. We're not playing this game anymore, and I'm not really interested in trying again. As beautiful as it is, there are so many other philodendron that I would way prefer to have in my collection, and Philodendron Brantianum is just not it. And I was really stubborn and trying to make it work for a long time, and I've decided officially,
no more.
Never again. Don't quote me on that though, because maybe someday, but like, not anytime soon. And then the last plant that specifically I am not going to buy again is the Calathea Yellow Fusion. This is another plant that was hanging on for a long time, and it's really beautiful. I did buy it kind of on a whim several years ago. If you know anything about like the Calathea White Fusion, the Calathea Yellow Fusion, you know, in general, plants in the Maryantiaceae family, as I mentioned before, do pretty well in my collection. This is sort of the exception. It just is an absolute pest magnet. Oh my gosh, it got spider mites. I don't even know how many times. While it was in the house, it was never happy. Occasionally, so I had it outside for a couple of summers, and each summer it kind of came back and grew a lot and was so happy. So I was like, okay, I can live with this. We can put it outside in the summer. It'll be really nice. And then when it comes back inside for the winter, it'll look scraggly, but then it'll be okay. We'll find a rhythm. I'm willing to deal with that. But then this past summer I put it outside and it like almost croaked on me, not quite, but like it had all but a few leaves remaining, and it had spider mites on top of it. And I was just like, no, I'm too tired to deal with this. We're just not going to deal with it. There's so many other plants in the Maryantiaceae family that I think I would rather have, that I know would do better in my collection, that it's like, why try? Why put myself through that? I don't even like the plant that much. As beautiful as it is, it's not, I don't regard it as like any more beloved or beautiful than some of the other plants in that same family. So it's like, yeah, no thank you. Wow, so those are the plants that perished this year that like I have off the top of my head, and my evaluation as to whether or not I would rebuy them or not rebuy them. That's the summary. I will say I have 3 honorable mentions because I thought that these plants were going to die, but they did not. By some miracle, the 3 plants that I thought were going to die were my Monstera albo. Yeah, right? My Philodendron Dark Lord and my Philodendron Mame, because all of those plants, those 3 plants had thrips the worst in my collection. And if you don't know, I got thrips. I have a whole vlog on it when I discovered them, and oh my gosh, yeah, I'm having like flashbacks. War flashbacks is not okay. So yeah, I battled thrips in my collection. I think, dare I say, knock on wood, I was like kind of semi-successful in getting rid of them. I'm still actively treating for thrips, but I haven't seen any. I haven't actually seen any in weeks. So I'm holding my breath, but still. Okay, but yeah, those 3 plants had it the worst by far, and they had sustained the most damage by far. And I was like fairly convinced that they were gonna die. Thankfully, they've all held on, but they have sustained a lot of damage and they're not looking pretty. But I will say Philodendron Mame and Monstera Albo, even though they're so expensive, I just love those plants enough that I absolutely would rebuy those plants if they did actually die. Again, like I kind of had them on this list because I thought that they were maybe gonna die this year, but thankfully they held on, okay? Although they are looking a little bit scraggly, so I might, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to cave and try to buy them again, like whole new plants, because it's a lot of money, but still, yeah. I think that I would eventually want to get my hands on them again if they did actually die. And my Philodendron Dark Lord, I am like the most on the fence with this plant as you could possibly be. So like, I don't actually know. I have been wrestling with this plant to get the Philodendron Dark Lord of my dreams for years and years and years, and it hasn't happened yet, even though I've put a lot of effort into this plant. So I don't know if it's like my specific plant, like a problem with my specific plant, or if I'm doing something wrong, or if I need to try it over again with a different plant. I don't know. But I did almost get rid of the Philodendron Dark Lord because it had the worst thrips infestation of all of my plants, and I was this close to getting rid of it and just chucking the whole thing. But I kept it, and I think I'm gonna chop it up and try again with it. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but yeah, that one's a solid. I still haven't decided yet. I'm still holding on to that sliver of hope that it might work for me someday. Those are all of the plants. Do share down below. Are there any plants that you lost this year that you miss and you're just like absolutely devastated that you lost them and you would absolutely rebuy them? Or obviously conversely, are there any plants that like you lost and you're like, you know what? I can live without them. I don't need them in my life anymore, taking up real estate in my plants and in my brain. Do share. I'm very curious. Spill the tea, because I feel like this is a kind of a fun topic to talk about. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All those things are super helpful for my channel. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.